Just 3 months ago, I was the star employee at a top marketing firm, pulling all-nighters and landing the biggest clients. My boss, Mr. Harrison, was always singing my praises, calling me his secret weapon. Life was good. I was on the fast track to a promotion, and I'd just put a down payment on my dream apartment. Little did I know, my world was about to be turned upside down. It all started on a Monday morning. I walked into the office, coffee in hand, ready to tackle the week. But instead of the usual buzz of activity, I was met with an eerie silence. Mr. Harrison called me into his glass-walled office. His face, usually smiling, was a cold, hard mask. He didn't even ask me to sit down. He just slid a box across his mahogany desk and said, "Pack your things. We're letting you go." I was stunned. What? Why? My performance reviews have been perfect. I just closed the Henderson account last week. He avoided my eyes, muttering something about restructuring and budget cuts. It was a lie, and we both knew it. As security escorted me out, I saw him through the glass, shaking hands with a new guy, his own nephew, a fresh-faced kid with zero experience who was now sitting at my desk. I wasn't fired for budget cuts. I was replaced by nepotism. The anger was a fire in my chest. All my hard work, all those sacrifices meant nothing. For a week, I just stewed. I sent out resumes, but my confidence was shot. Every rejection felt like another blow. Mr. Harrison hadn't just taken my job, he'd taken my professional identity. I felt powerless, defeated. But then, as I was packing up the last of my things from my old desk, I found it. A small, forgotten USB drive tucked away in a drawer. I almost threw it out, but on a whim, I plugged it into my laptop. What I found made my blood run cold. It wasn't just office files. It was Harrison's personal drive. It contained encrypted folders, hidden documents, and spreadsheets that painted a very different picture of my esteemed former boss. For years, he'd been cooking the books, creating fake invoices and siphoning company money into an offshore account. He wasn't just a bad boss, he was a criminal. The restructuring wasn't about budgets. It was about him getting nervous and trying to consolidate his control. Suddenly, I had a choice. I could go to the police, expose him, and let justice take its course. But where was the justice in that for me? I'd still be unemployed, and he'd just be another white-collar criminal getting a slap on the wrist. No, this was personal. He had humiliated me, and I was going to make sure he felt a fraction of the pain I did. My revenge wouldn't be loud or explosive. It would be quiet, calculated, and devastating. My plan started with a single, anonymous email. Using a secure, untraceable service, I sent a carefully selected file to the one person Harrison feared more than anyone, his biggest rival, the CEO of Omnicorp. The file was a list of Harrison's top clients, complete with their contract details and, more importantly, a detailed breakdown of how Harrison was overcharging them. I didn't ask for money. I just attached a simple message. Thought you might find this interesting. The fallout was immediate. Within days, rumors started circulating. Harrison's biggest client, the one I had personally landed, pulled their multi-million-dollar contract. Then another followed, and another. His company was bleeding money, and he had no idea why. I watched from the sidelines, checking industry news sites like it was my morning paper. The panic on his face in a recent press photo was more satisfying than any paycheck. But I wasn't done. The USB drive was a treasure trove. Phase 2 involved Harrison's personal life. I discovered he was having an affair with a junior associate, using company funds to pay for lavish trips and expensive gifts. This wasn't just immoral, it was another abuse of his power. I created a fake social media profile, a beautiful, sophisticated woman who supposedly worked in international finance. I started interacting with Harrison's wife on her public charity pages, complimenting her work, becoming a friendly online acquaintance. After a few weeks of building trust, I sent her a private message. "My dear," it read, "I admire your strength and your charity work so much. It's a shame your husband doesn't share your integrity." Attached was a single, damning photo from the USB drive. Harrison and his mistress on a business trip in Paris, a trip documented with a fake company invoice. I hit send and logged off. The next day, the city's most prominent society pages were buzzing with news of the Harrisons' impending, very public, and very messy divorce. Now, Harrison was fighting a war on two fronts. His business was collapsing, and his personal life was in shambles. He was a ghost in his own office, paranoid and lashing out at everyone. He suspected a mole, a corporate spy, never once imagining that the source of his misery was the quiet, hard-working employee he had so carelessly discarded. The irony was delicious. He thought I was powerless, but from my small apartment, I was a puppet master pulling all the strings. The final act was for me. I noticed that one of Harrison's clients, a tech startup he'd been ignoring, was on the verge of a major breakthrough. Their file was buried deep on his server, marked as low priority. I knew their potential. I used my knowledge from my old job to put together a killer pitch. I reached out to them directly, not as a vengeful ex-employee, but as a marketing consultant with a vision. I showed them a strategy that would put them on the map, a strategy Harrison had been too arrogant and preoccupied to see. They were blown away. They hired me on the spot, not as an employee, but as a lead partner with a stake in the company. We launched our new campaign, and it was a massive success. Our startup became the new darling of the tech world, and I was at the forefront. 6 months after I was fired, I attended a major industry conference. As I was networking, I saw a familiar face across the room. It was Harrison. He looked older, defeated. His expensive suit hung off his frame, and he was alone. Our eyes met. There was no recognition at first, and then a flicker of confusion, which slowly morphed into dawning horror as he saw the name badge on my chest. He saw my new title, the name of my now famous company. He finally understood. He started walking towards me, a desperate look on his face. But before he could reach me, my new business partners clapped me on the back, pulling me away to meet a potential investor. I gave Harrison one last look over my shoulder, a small, knowing smile. That was my revenge, not a loud explosion, but the quiet, undeniable truth of my success. He didn't just lose his company, his wife, and his reputation. He lost to the very person he thought was worthless. And that, I can assure you, is a lesson he will never forget. Thanks for watching my story. If you've ever felt underestimated, remember that the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting ahead. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories. See you next time.